Well, it really has been a challenge for Joburg. When we started to issue out permits for informal traders and for spaza shop owners, it was issued from one central point, and it became a huge challenge. That's because we're obviously not complying with social distancing, and it was overcrowding. So it had to be stopped for a while. But it started last week, and it has been going well because now it's been at different points at different regions. So it's been going well. But if I should say that as law enforcement, our primary role is to enforce the lockdown regulations of the National Disaster Act, and that's checking and monitoring social distancing and compliance, and that's checking for permits that allow informal traders to trade. And we also check for overcrowding and to prevent unhygienic issues. And then we're also enforcing the city bylaws. So even with the lockdown, the city bylaws, they still apply. So our officers will enforce the bylaws, but please note that when traders fail to comply with the bylaws, and even if they got a valid permit, their goods will be confiscated. So they won't be impounded as we're dealing with a normal issue, but they'll be confiscated, and that's under the National Disaster Act. It's unfortunate, but we have to do it as law enforcement.
So does that then mean that they don't have the opportunity of claiming back those goods?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well. Do you hear us? Hello?
Unfortunately, I can't hear you. Okay, I can hear you now.
Great. My question was whether that means that they're not able to reclaim their goods once they've been confiscated in this way.
Unfortunately, the Act says that they can't reclaim their goods because they've been confiscated and not impounded. If they were impounded, that they have to reclaim their goods with a certain price from the city. But unfortunately, the National Disaster Act says that we have to confiscate instead of impound.
Okay. And in terms of the enforcement of these regulations and how quickly the different regulations and requirements have been changing over the past couple of weeks, how is the communication working with the different levels of JMPD? Are you finding that that's easy to keep track of what the changes are and to inform officers in the field, or are there delays and misunderstandings along the way? Or is there anything else?
Yeah, there is a slight delay because the regulations are relaxed on and off. So getting the message to our officers, there is a slight delay. But what we do tell our officers is that at the first instance, give the person a warning. Don't be harsh at the first instance. So please give a person a warning so they do understand that regulation, and then they can work within the confines of the regulation.
Okay. And then initially there was quite a bit of concern expressed by researchers and also by representatives of immigrant communities, where some of the initial statements from the ministers had been unclear and seemed to suggest that traders from other countries would not be allowed to continue trading, and later it was modified to say that they wouldn't be eligible for business support. And there was quite a bit of concern raised around that possibly sparking xenophobic reprisals and such. What has your experience been of that whole space?
Well, I can say that in Johannesburg, I don't know with other cities, that major informal traders are foreign nationals. So we have to deal with that issue. We have to take it very seriously. And since the last, if I should say, xenophobic attacks within the city, it became a really big issue. So us as the city of Joburg, we have to take it slowly and make sure that we do educate people regarding this. That's why our officers are being told that first educate the person before you can actually take major steps to avoid that.
Okay. And how are your relationships with the different informal traders associations and organizations in Joburg? How are you managing communications there?
On us as JMPD, we don't have much of a communication with them. So information is brought down from our social development department from the city of Joburg, and then we take direction from them.